What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are First. Welcome in to the Breeders' Cup edition of the Call to Post here on the network. We break down, of course, everything North American thoroughbred horse racing has to offer. A little bit more than that. It is really the world stage when we're talking about the Breeders' Cup. Obviously, this is the Super Bowl of horse racing, or the Olympics of horse racing would probably be a better analogy with all the international flavor we have going on. And of course, with me, as always, to break it all down, it's my friend and co-host, Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. How you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. It is hard to believe because I remember when they had it at Santa Anita and they made the announcement that, hey, in 24 and 25, it's going to be at Del Mar. And it seemed so far in the future before that was going to happen. And here we are in 72 hours, or more than 72, 96 hours maybe. It's just going to be another page in the history books. But looking forward to see what happens. I'm hoping to get out there at least on Friday. Cannot go Saturday. But there's some folks I communicate with New York Racing Association, and they are going to be out. So I was reaching out to him last night, and he said, don't have much time after the races, but I'm going to be here and here on Thursday, or Friday. Let's catch up. So
Perfect.
Should be a good time.
Yes. And just a little housekeeping. Normally, when we do this every year, we kind of have two separate podcasts, one for the Future Star Friday and one for the Saturday. Full disclosure, the summer has been kind of crazy for both of us. The fall has continued to be crazy for both of us. So we are just going to be focusing on the Saturday showcase. No disrespect to the Future Star Friday. It's just, again, if you kind of see what's going on behind the scenes, a lot of things going on, but we're here for you on Saturday. But do not sleep on those juveniles on Friday. Maybe a little bit more of a coin flip, but that might be better because it is very, very difficult handicapping some of these races when you talk about 12 horses and they're all probably the top 15 in their class, and you got to split hairs between all of them. But before we get into that, Raider Jim did kind of allude to it. Obviously, this is the second of the last 2 years of the Breeders' Cup being at Del Mar. I believe this will be the fourth Breeders' Cup, maybe the fifth, but at least the fourth Breeders' Cup that we have seen at Del Mar. Of course, going back to, I think, 2016 or 2017 is when they announced, hey, Hollywood Park's closing down. We're going to take their meat and kind of officially put their name in the hat to be able to host the Breeders' Cup because their summer schedule didn't really, coalesce, and they're not going to open up the season for just 2 days, no matter how lucrative it is. But Del Mar, for the second year in a row, will be hosting the Breeders' Cup. Figured it was a nice opportunity. Just kind of take a moment, look back. Obviously, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, both myself and Raider Jim on location for that Future Star Friday. And my goodness, I've never seen Del Mar like that. It was crazy. But Raider Jim, some thoughts, memories, etc. on the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, what do you say about the Breeders' Cup? Like you said, it's the biggest stage, and it is not that old. It actually became the Breeders' Cup in like 2006 or something, or excuse me, a little bit before that maybe. Anyway, and it has progressed to what it has. You're going to have 30 races, or no, excuse me, not 30 races, 14 grade 1 races, $30 million in purse money over those 14 races, which is unheard of at Del Mar. They don't have that kind of purse money during the regular racing season. So this is big. What else is going to be there? Mike Smith is going to be riding this weekend. Mike Smith, the most winning active jockey of the Breeders' Cup with 27 wins under his belt. Congratulations to Mike for being at the top. It's going to be a while before somebody surpasses him, and he might even pick up a couple more wins. Now, the record we may see broken this week is D. Wayne Lucas, the coach, has 20 wins as a Breeders' Cup trainer. Bob Baffert right behind at 19, and he's got so many entries over the 2 days of racing. Very well could end up overtaking D. Wayne Lucas, and hats off to Bob, because he manages to do it, whether you disagree with him, agree with him, or whatever your opinion is of him. He puts winners on the track. And then what else has happened? Not a lot of repeat winners when it comes down to the Breeders' Cup. 22 and 23 were the last time we had repeat winners. It was the Filly Mare Sprint. It was Goodnight Olive. In the sprint, it was Elite Power. And of course, one of the most endearing horses to the racing community, the Dirt Mile, 2022, 2023, won by Cody's Wish.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm going to start. I believe it was last year or the year before. Cody's Wish, if you're not familiar, was of course named after, and I do forget the last name of the young boy, but Cody, he and again, I don't know the disease, but he had, cerebral palsy-esque, again, in that area. I'm not a doctor, not even close to that, but an incredible friendship or bond between the horse and the child. And again, I'm kind of getting a little choked up thinking about it, but whether it was last year or the year before, after Cody's Wish went out and ran, we did hear the unfortunate news that the young Cody, the young boy, did unfortunately pass. But it was a great reminder of, look, we're going to talk about horses. We're going to talk about, betting lines, morning lines, talk about post positions, talk about value here and there. But at the end of the day, all of these horses mean so much to so many people, and they have nothing to do with where they finish in this race or anything like that. Horses are truly one of the more majestic animals that we can kind of come in close contact with. It's incredible to see what the Breeders' Cup has turned into. I mean, I think it started with just a couple races. Now it's turned into a 2-day event. And I will say one of the best memories I will have, and it will still always be a big what if, but that 3-year-old Flightline, who I still believe is the greatest horse I've ever seen. Apologies to American Pharaoh, but Flightline blew everyone away, not just in the Pacific Classic leading up to the Breeders' Cup Classic, but to, of course, dominate that classic by 10, 12, 14 lengths. It was incredible. And again, retired right after that. Only, I think, might have raced lightly as a 2-year-old, but only a 3-year-old season. Didn't even run in the Triple Crown races. A small little peek at one of the biggest what ifs. But the Breeders' Cup truly is the culmination of the year. Everyone, this is what you have circled if you're a top flight horse. And it's just been an honor to have it here in San Diego.
Absolutely.
And again, well, I won't be there this year, but it was one of the best moments for horse racing for myself. And I'm sure in the future, because Del Mar will get the Breeders' Cup again very, very soon. Hopefully we'll be able to be there as well. But it is now time to dive into kind of the meats and potatoes. The reason everyone is listening to this, time to dive into the race previews. We are going to go chronologically with a little bit of an asterisk. Second year in a row, the Breeders' Cup just wants to put the Classic right in the middle of the card. I believe that is for TV, so that NBC or whoever has the rights, I believe it's NBC, can hop in for just an hour or two and then get back to college football. So a little bit of a bummer there. We are going to go chronologically, but the Classic will be at the end. Because, well, that's just how you do things when it comes to podcasting. Leave the main event for the end. So with that being said, 9 races to break down. So let's dive straight into it. All of these are going to be grade 1s, if I don't already say that, but we're going to start race number 4 on the card on Saturday. It is the grade 1 Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. We are going 7 furlongs on the dirt. And the purse, I believe this is the lowest amount, $1 million. Everything is either $1 million or more, culminating, of course, with the Breeders' Cup Classic, which is the richest race in North America. But Raider Jim, I'm going to give you first bite of the apple on the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint.
Yeah, hands down favorite in this one is the number. I didn't put the numbers down. Give me 1 second here. Of
Should
course, I
be
didn't put the
the
numbers down.
6.
The number 6 horse, Sweet Azteca. Sweet Azteca at 2-1 right now. But believe it or not, that is picked also.
So as Raider Jim alluded to, that 6 horse. Oh, yes. So Raider Jim possibly will be stepping back in. But I'll just give my thoughts as we wait for Raider Jim to return. Sweet Azteca is at the top of my board as well. I really do like this horse. However, it is a bit lightly raced, and last time out didn't run great, only ran in 95. However, didn't really need to run terribly well. It was the Rancho Bernardo handicap, heavy favorite, and did enough to get the job done, but wasn't the eye-popping numbers that we've seen early on in the season. Oh, looks like we have Mr. Martinez back. Wait for that. There he is. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know what happened there.
No worries. So I was just talking Sweet Azteca, but pass it back off to you. Oh, there you are. Pass it back off to you, Raider Jim. The Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint.
Yeah. So again, as I was saying, they do have, I'm doing a thing here where I did my research, listened to a couple professionals and what their positions were on this race. And then I thought, wouldn't it be fun to find out what AI has to say about these races?
Oh, boy.
And AI says, morning line odds 2-1 on Sweet Azteca. Performance consistent and fast mare with 2 wins in 2 starts in 2025. Possesses significant speed and has demonstrated top form over the last 2 years, running out of post position 6. And AI says it's going to be Tamara coming in second in this race, which was kind of interesting. Tamara had not been on my book, but AI might know more than me. Who knows anymore? It's going to be interesting to see as we go through these, how our picks compare to that. Now, there was a horse that maybe I was looking at the incorrect race. Copion.
Next one. It's running. I was in the same thing. It is running in the
They moved them to the
sprint.
Going to move them to run with the boys.
Running with the boys. Yes.
Right. There was talk on whether or not they would do that. The one last thing I heard was no, they've decided to keep her there at 5-2. That horse is going to compete with the boys, let me tell you. Mm-hmm. So right now we can leave it at Sweet Azteca. According to AI, it's going to be Tamara. I like Hope Road at 5-1, and I also like Richie at 8-1. 8-1, great value for Richie. Last 3 buyer speeds, 97, 102, 102. Can't go wrong with those. But don't blink. There's going to be several of those. If you blink, you're going to miss the race.
Yeah, especially these sprints, they kind of lay them out to where we'll start with the 1 turns, and then we get deep into, the 2 turns and miles and stuff like that towards the end. I really do like Sweet Azteca here. Look, only ran in 1 grade 1 in her career, but did win that race. This is a horse that is very, very, I shouldn't say a veteran of Del Mar, but it's 2 for 2 at Del Mar, I should say. 8 of 9 runs have finished in the money for the career. And 7 of them finished in the winner's circle. I really do like Sweet Azteca. However, excuse me, I think that number is just a little too short for me. 2-1. I'm looking for a little more value. I don't think this horse, especially last time out in the Rancho Bernardo handicap, as I was kind of mentioning earlier, didn't need to run very well, but still, it was a little bit of a head scratcher on that one last time out. So 2-1, I'm going to keep an eye on it, but I want to see those numbers go up. Like you, I am very bullish on Ricci. I think this is, a Bob Baffert horse, Luis Saez aboard. I think definitely one of the best. And it's also beaten some of the other horses that are going to be running in this race, including Splendora and Hope Road, some of the other big ones. So that's interesting. One horse that on the outside that I think you should at least take a look at 20-1, Praying. And you might need to be doing that during this race to get this horse into the winner's circle. But last time out, this horse shocked everyone and beat some of the, let's call them lower tier horses, Bava and Zeitlos, great horses. But when we're talking about the Breeders' Cup, again, we're really splitting hairs here. Praying went off at about 10-1, got the win in the TCA at Keeneland. So I was impressed with that, but that speed figure will need to go up big time in this one. I also really do like Hope Road. The only reason I gave Ricci just a little bit higher of an edge, the inconsistency for Hope Road is a little concerning. You know, last 5 races, we're going 100, 86, 104, 102, 87, all very good, but the 86 and the 87s, those aren't going to play in a Breeders' Cup type race. So that was a little bit of a reason why I gave the edge to Ricci in that one. And then finally, the last one. Oh, I did want to bring up Tamara because this is interesting to me. 7-2 seems a little way too short of a line for a horse that we haven't seen break into the triple digits on the buyers. That's interesting to me. It's kind of one my antennas go up, as you said, really wasn't on my ticket, but looking it over going, someone might know something I don't. Only one race this calendar year. It was a win. It was in October. So something to keep an eye on for Tamara. I'm going to just kind of wait and see there. And then some of the unders just to kind of see if we can maybe catch one, because that's where you're going to need to find some value in these races. I really like the 2-horse Splendora, a very consistent horse, a horse that can win on the lead or come from behind. Had been flirting with triple digits, finally hit it. Now, it wasn't an ungraded stakes race, but did run a 100, dominated the field as a heavy favorite. And the one thing I will say for Splendora, why she's underneath on my card, she hasn't been able to beat some of the big girls in this race, including Ricci, including Hope Road. Seismic Beauty isn't in this race, but is a Distaff favorite. So just kind of an idea. Splendora will need a great run going forward. And the final horse I do want to bring up, and this is more for just kind of just to throw up a flare. The 5-horse Fille Blanche. It's a Japanese horse. We have basically no actual data on this other than where they finished, what lengths it was. We don't have any speed numbers, any timings, but the Japanese horses, going back to the first Del Mar Breeders' Cup, they have arrived. And again, I don't think it's Fille Blanche here, but again, I'm just kind of throwing up a flare. Keep an eye out. A Japanese horse more than likely is going to get in the money. Again, 30-1. I have no idea about this horse because, you know, we don't get a whole lot of numbers from Japan, but I just wanted to get out ahead of that. We know that this is a country that is very, very intent on getting themselves into the conversation when it comes to the Breeders' Cup. So moving on to the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. As the name says, we are going 5 furlongs on the turf. This is a grade 1 for $1 million purse. I'll get this one started. The favorite, I believe, is going to be the 1-horse Motorious, as I just do a quick little glance of the field. Yes, it is the favorite. Yes, so it is the favorite, Motorious on the rail. The 1-horse, a horse that has ran in Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint last year and was the favorite and finished 5th, a length and a half off of Nobles in that one. I do like Motorious here. Last time out, maybe some people are looking at that run at Del Mar. It's the only time this horse hasn't finished in the winner's circle at Del Mar, and it was Reef Runner in the Green Flash Handicap. I believe that got that Reef Runner's ticket punched here. Now, I do believe, I'm looking it over right now, it looks like it may have actually technically finished first through disqualification, but on the run, Reef Runner was faster. I also do like Reef Runner in this one. Not a huge, I don't like to see horses get disqualified, things like that. but at 6-1, I think there's a lot of value in the 2-horse here. And then my other kind of contender, if you want to call it that, as I go down to the 8-horse, I believe. Yes, AG Bullet, 4-1. I think this is actually the best value in this race at 4-1. I would not be surprised to see this horse actually go off as the favorite when post time does finally come around. 3 for 3 in the money at Del Mar, and the last 2 runs have been very, very good, going back to the Hyper at Saratoga. Little bit of inconsistencies, but I really do like the value with AG Bullet at 4-1. That's Richard Baltus and Junior Vasquez. And then some of these other ones, just kind of, I call them, just take a look at them. The 9-horse Bear River. I think this horse is good enough for a look, but that's also maybe a little bit of what happens in the Breeders' Cup. Went off at similar odds, 19-1 last time out in the turf sprint at Kentucky Downs, and won that race. So this horse has no problem running at long odds. Some of the other kind of keep an eye on these. Bring the Band home. I wonder if the last time out was a little bit of an overreaction, was running 109, 105 in the summer months, ran in October at Woodbine, dropped down to 81 as a heavy favorite. But that was a big, big race, including None Hudson, who's in here, and Nobles, who won this race last year. I also think you should take a look at Kadim, the 4-horse, the Irish horse, a big fan of consistency. Normally, I'm not too big on Euro sprinters, but it is a turf horse. You have to give the Europeans their due on turf. And I believe, yes, those are the 3 horses. Just kind of keep an eye on. And then again, I think the 1, 2, 8, these are the true contenders for me in this race. Raider Jim, your thoughts, the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint.
Yeah, as a rule, I like the inside, the number 1 position, but this is such a big field. 12 across and Motorious, great horse. Nothing against that horse. Appreciate the morning line favorite. However, I think Motorious is going to get bunched up. I think they're going to push him way to the back real fast. He's going to have to fight a lot. And let's face it, this is the Breeders' Cup. This isn't just your average weekend race. And a horse like Reef Runner, I think, is going to come out and just be smoking. Yeah. So I do like Reef Runner at 6-1. I think that's a great value. This race could be one of your better value races when you're looking at first, second, and third, because I like Reef Runner. Like you, I like the 8-horse AG Bullet for all the reasons you gave. And at 4-1, not bad. Probably going to drop a little bit, but 4-1, not bad. And then I also like the 10-horse. She's So Spicy out of Kentucky. Irad Ortiz. This is a horse at 6-1. You've got very good potential for in the money with that horse. And then again, do you want to put in Motorious underneath just in case she walks up or, comes in and is able to grab show or grab the place? Possibly, but definitely I'm going to go with Reef Runner. I'm going to go with AG Bullet. I'm going to go with She's So Spicy. And I'm going to keep my eyes on where do the numbers go with the 3-horse Arizona Blaze. Another great horse out of Great Britain. Again, you and I have seen it. We got beat by overlooking some of these international horses. Don't overlook Arizona Blaze.
Yep. And also just to kind of, because Arizona Blaze did kind of catch my radar. I don't like that number. I want to see it get closer to 8-1 myself. One run in North America, and it was last year it was last year in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. So as a 2-year-old, went off at 27-1, finished only a half length off of the leader. Nice little payout there. And that was the last time we saw this horse here in North America. A lot of Irish, Great Britain, France runs for that horse. But yeah, Arizona Blaze, definitely one to keep an eye on in a great value race. Good call on that. Moving on to the 6th race on your card. It is going to be the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Sprint. We are going 6 furlongs on the dirt. The purse of $2 million. It's going to be for 3-year-olds and up. Raider Jim, I'll give you the first bite at the apple of the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Sprint.
Yeah, no small fields in the Breeders' Cup races. Now we're at 14 entries on this one, and there's Copion, the horse I was looking for before. Copion, to reiterate what I had said, going to race against the boys. They pulled her out of the other race. They said, yeah, she can compete. Let's just put her in there and see what happens. And look who's riding that horse, the favorite, my buddy. Starting on the post, Mike Smith, so he's going to be my number one pick. And you give him the fastest horse, the best horse, that's the guy that's going to make it happen. Hopefully, we're going to see Mike get his 28th Breeders' Cup victory. Well, that would be just one more jewel in his crown, and he deserves it. And then where do you go after that? There's the number 7 horse, Imagination, J.J. Hernandez, trained by Bob Baffert. There's Baffert's chance, too, because he very well could make it a real good race with this horse, but you're going to see Baffert's horse finish in the money on this one. Straight No Chaser, J.R. Velasquez. I like this horse at 8-1. You've got great value, and I think, a little inconsistency here and there, but watch out this race. This is that thing. You only got to win one. Yep. So all these horses that are out there, it's when, we see it in the Kentucky Derby, the stakes, everything. They just have to win today. And so I like Copion in this one. I definitely like Imagination in this one, and my glasses are really bad today, or my eyes are really bad today. And then there is the 10 horse, and you can help me with that name because I can't really read it right now. Ben Tornado.
Get there.
Yes. Ben Tornado, another Irad Ortiz horse. The one, I had Irad on my last ticket. This one at 5-2 actually going off as the favorite. So watch the 10 horse, the 1 horse, watch the 7 horse. And again, you want to watch that 12 horse Straight No Chaser.
Yeah, we're very much in lockstep here. I do like Copion here. Copion, not a massive fan of the post position of 1, but it's far enough on the backstretch. You can kind of let things get settled before you have to dive into that turn. Obviously, this is a sprint. I really do like the Imagination here. I think at 6-1, maybe the best value of the day. I think Bob Baffert and JJ Hernandez will be aboard, but mainly Bob Baffert and that kind of team. They were toying with this horse. Well, maybe it's a 2-turn horse. Well, we'll put it on. We'll sprint, and then it runs well on the sprint, and then they say, let's put it back on the into a 2-turn race. And it kind of regresses. It seems like they have just kind of accepted, okay, this is a 1-turn horse. And I really not only like what this horse does just overall, but the one thing that jumps out to me with Imagination, this is a horse that gets bumped a lot. Just looking at the DRF little notes, it's a lot of bumped, umper rally, 4 wide, 6 wide, 3 deep, drifted, and they come back and get in the money. This is a horse that is ready for a big field like the Breeders' Cup, right in the middle of that in the 7 post, can close, can get out quick. I really like Imagination at 6-1 here. Copion is definitely my other pick as well as a top contender. Underneath that is the 10 horse. I don't like the value or lack thereof, I should say. And one thing that definitely does jump out to me is the fact that this horse has only raced once this year. The second to last race we've seen, it was the exact same race last year. Benerato went off at 28-1 in this same race last year, and only a half length off of our defending champ, Straight No Chaser, which is a perfect segue into that horse. Wasn't great last time out, but this horse has been really all over the globe this year. After it won its Breeders' Cup Sprint last year, ended up getting shipped out to the Middle East to go after a big paydays there. Might not have exactly gotten what it needed, but I think it was good, experience. However, I don't see a repeat from Straight No Chaser. 8-1 though. Keep an eye on that. Inside of him is going to be another horse I think you should keep an eye on. That's Milliken. Last time out was as bad as it could have gotten. Really did struggle, but that was also in a grade 1. And I think, Flavian Pratt just kind of realized, look, today's not our day, eased a bit, only ran a 69, but not too often you're going to see Flavian Pratt aboard a 15-1 horse. I really do like Milliken. Let me make sure I don't have any others underneath. I do have one more kind of underneath. Keep an eye on. It's the 3 horse Love Sick Blues. Mainly love the value here. Little bit of a question mark of the surface here. This is a turf horse mainly that is now running on the dirt. However, 2 runs on the dirt at Del Mar, 1 win and 1 place. So, and including a 105 in the Bing Crosby that got this horse here at 18-1. So Lovesick Blues, keep an eye there, 10-1. I'd like to see that number get a little higher, but keep an eye. Very, very good horse in Lovesick Blues. And that really is the hard part of the Breeders' Cup. All of these horses are so good. It truly is like splitting hairs. But moving on to the 7th race on the card. This is when we're starting to get into our 2 turns. This is the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Distaff. Obviously, Distaff, we are only going to be talking about the fillies and mares. So only the ladies going to be running here. We are going 1 1/8 on the dirt, 3-year-old fillies for a purse of $2 million. One note, the queen of this division over the past 2 years has been Torpedo Anna. She was retired from racing a couple weeks back. So it's time to crown a new queen of the ladies. Raider Jim, I'll let you get this one started. Breeders' Cup Distaff, race number 7.
Yeah, early 12 entries. Early line favorite is the number 8 horse, Seismic Beauty, at 9-5. Now, here's the deal about Seismic Beauty. Seismic Beauty has, at 9-5, has been off 91 days and was performing so well. Why would you pull a horse that long and not keep them going and just put them in, a few furlongs here, a few furlongs there, and keep them training? Is there something wrong? Is there a little bit, did the trainer pick up on something? I don't know, but if I'm not mistaken, and let me take one look at something, I believe this horse is trained by none other than Mr. Baffert, and it's ridden by Juan Hernandez. Now, when that happens, there are reasons that horse has been off for 91 days because Bob Baffert knows what he's doing. But still, to me, it puts question in my mind. With that said, I'm going to go with the 3 horse. Clickwat is how I've heard the name pronounced. At 10-1, there's your upset in the Breeders' Cup, if you want to call it, for the Breeders' Cup races. The Distaff at 10-1. Last time out, there was questions. Will this horse ever win a G1, a Grade 1? Last time out, won the Cotillion Grade 1, and I think going to be on track, ready to go, no pun intended. But who do you put underneath then? Well, there's 2 horses that you and I are very familiar with. One being the 12-horse Darth Vader, the other one being the 4-horse Scylla. Darth Vader has just been so inconsistent. You you almost can't count on Darth Vader to even show up in the money. So on your underneath bets. So what do? What about Scylla? Scylla's usually a performer, but when you really look at it, to me, at 15-1, good value there as your underneath horse, because Scylla is just like a professional, gonna come in place, gonna come in show horse. Not gonna win this race though, but definitely has enough to go in underneath and catch you on the show. So no Torpedo Anna. Seismic Beauty, definitely the favorite, but I don't think Seismic Beauty is going to do it. 8's going to come in second. Clickwat is going to, number 3 horse is going to win this one. Scylla or Darth Vader underneath that.
Yeah, we're pretty much kind of seeing it here. I do like Seismic Beauty here, and I think it's more of, normally the Distaff for myself is always one of the more intriguing races. I kind of go back to the days of Monomoy Girl and Swiss Skydiver. And I mean, when the Distaff division was top notch. And as usual, you kind of have the bit of a changing of the guard, and who knows, we might be talking about Seismic Beauty the same way as some of those others. Now, Torpedo Anna is a filly that may be one of the top 5 fillies of this generation. So it's hard to kind of put her on the same level, or put any of these horses on her level, I should say. But I really do like Seismic Beauty. I like what she's put together, and you can't go wrong with Baffert at the helm. I do like On the Post Nitrogen, 4-1. This is kind of the chalky pick right here. Has been good, but we need a step further. This has always kind of seemed to be a horse that we've expected to flip a switch, and maybe we'll flip it, but it won't stay on. And again, this is a horse they put on dirt and now turf and back to dirt again. And it does seem to have finally started to kind of mellow out with its consistency. I'd like that number to go up a little bit. I don't think it will, which is unfortunate. Therefore, I am going to be looking underneath, and like you as well, an old friend like Scylla is always someone that I will just kind of be able to say, you know what, 15-1, I should say, not too bad. Ran very well in the Spinster. Now, unfortunately, still finished third behind 2 horses that are running in this race. But I do think Scylla underneath could be one to watch out for. And then finally, the one horse that I'm very, very intrigued at, and will probably make it onto my card, not as a winner, but probably as a play show, is the 7 horse, Jin. We talked about this horse going into the Spinster or the Fleur de Lis. I don't quite remember, but I had notes kind of questioning, hey, has Brendan Walsh kind of unlocked something with this horse? Because it was trained by Brad Cox, and then earlier this year was kind of given to or transferred to Brendan Walsh's stables, and the numbers jumped exponentially. And this is a horse at 12-1 in the Spinster against a lot of these big time horses in this race. It went off at 18-1, and it got the win by a head over Nitrogen and Silly and some of the others. I think you have to keep an eye on Jin. I really like what Brendan Walsh has figured out with this horse. And at 12-1, and maybe it drops down to 10, maybe 8-1, but I don't see it dropping lower than 8-1 there. So I really do like Jin. And, one thought on Darth Vader, as you mentioned, another kind of seems like always when we're talking about fillies on this, or mares, I should say, Darth Vader always kind of shows up. Unfortunately, I think the post position works against her here. And it's just, as you mentioned, we haven't really seen a ton, and we haven't seen her run since August. I don't know. 5-1, that's a really short number. I really think if you are going to be looking for a Darth Vader type in terms of that type of value, Jin is something to keep, or is a horse to keep an eye on in the Distaff. Moving on to the Breeders' Cup Turf. We are going 1.5 miles on the turf, as you could imagined, a $5 million purse. And we always normally have to remind ourselves, hey, make sure, you're keeping an eye out for the international flavor. Well, in this race, you don't need to remind yourself that, because we have only 2 North American bred horses running here. And with all due respect to both of them, they are not going to be factors here. So
none.
Yeah. So both are 30-1. Everything else is a European flavor. We always see a lot of European flavor in these turf races, but this might be the first time since we've done this podcast that it is pretty much only European flavors. I'll get this one started. Raider Jim talked earlier about, it's been a little while since we've seen a defending champ go back to back. Well, I think we see that end right here. I really like the one horse Rebels Romance. Of course, won this race last time out. Excuse me. And was able to come and race at Aqueduct. Is that Belmont? It was in the Turf Classic in a grade 1. So normally sometimes we see these European horses and they come for the Breeders' Cup and then they go back to Europe. And we kind of forget about them until the Breeders' Cup. Well, in the Turf Classic, Rebels Romance going off less than even money, got the job done. I really think Rebels Romance is very good. Even 5-2, I think there's a lot of value because of how good Rebels Romance truly is. Now, I only have 3 horses that I kind of looked at. If there is one horse that is going to take down Rebels Romance, it's got to be, I believe, the favorite. It is the 8-horse Mini Hawk. Now, we haven't seen this horse in North America yet, but this is a horse that has taken Great Britain and France and Ireland by storm. Only 3 years old. And Aidan O'Brien, I think, loves this one. 7 for 7, either win or place tickets. 5 of them finished in the winner's circle. I really like Mini Hawk. The only reason I gave Rebels Romance a little bit of the edge is because there's more value there. We'll see how those numbers fluctuate. I'd love to see Mini Hawk maybe get closer to 5-2. That would definitely catch my attention, but I think this is a 2-horse race. Therefore, I'm looking underneath for some more value, and right outside of Mini Hawk is where I find my value. That is the 9-horse Gold Phoenix. Again, another Irish horse, but we got some North American flavor. A lot of North American races, pretty much only runs in North America, which is a reason why I'm giving it a little bit of love here. And you also have Philip D'Amato as the trainer and Umberto Rispoli. I really like Gold Phoenix. This will be its 10th race on the Del Mar turf. 5 have already finished in the winner's circle. I don't think this horse is good enough to make it 6, but at 20-1, I think this horse is worth a place show ticket. Raider Jim, your thoughts on a very tough, unless you're watching Chantilly and Ascot every weekend, this is a tough race to break down. Your thoughts on the Breeders' Cup turf?
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. I've got down the number 1 horse, Rebels Romance, winning this race. It's going to be all Ireland all the time in this one. There's the only way to say it. Now, Mini Hawk, the 8-horse, is 8-5 right now, or this morning was 8-5. I'm sure it's changed a little bit. My concern, and I listened to some guys that are, familiar with the Great Britain stuff. I found them online, and they say their concern with Mini Hawk in this race and being at 8-5 is they traveled her at the end of a very strenuous season, which she might be tired by the time she gets here and gets settled for the race. Which is why these guys, the insiders from Ireland, were giving it the nod to Rebels Romance. So we're going to have 1 and 8 Rebels Romance. Oddly enough, the other thing I picked up while listening to these guys, the 10-horse at 15-1. They said Charlie Appleby just kind of snickered and gave a nod to El Cordobas. And El Cordobas, it was funny to listen to the guy from Ireland or Great Britain, wherever he was from, and he kept calling him El Cordobas. And I said, no, it's El Cordobas. El Cordobas is one of the most renowned bullfighters ever. Anyway, who cares, right? But I have to throw in my trivia. So the 10-horse El Cordobas, who else could you put underneath? You said it, the 9-horse Gold Phoenix. And at 20-1 and 15-1, hey, make those 2 tickets out, put them on both, and what do you got to lose? Gold Phoenix, though, as you said, this is a West Coast horse. This is home field advantage for Umberto. And I think we're going to see good things out of that run.
Yeah, this is a race that, if we see 1-8 or 8-1, however, whatever combo you want to see, very good chance that 3rd place finisher pays out just as much. Because once you get away from Rebels Romance and Mini Hawk, that's where the numbers do start to inflate. So again, try and find that value. It's just a little unfortunate that trying to find the value on these European horses, not the easiest thing to do, the way we kind of handicap. So we are going to jump ahead to race number 10 now, just for posterity's sake. Race number 9 is the Classic that is going off at 3:25 local time. So 3:25 local time on the West Coast, 6:25 on the East Coast. Do the math in between. But we are going to jump ahead to race number 10. This is the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Mile. We are going a mile on the turf for $2 million. Raider Jim, your thoughts, Breeders' Cup Mile.
Yeah, the morning line favorite right now, as I'm seeing it, is the 2-horse Notable Speech. Notable Speech, great horse out of Great Britain, and Charlie Appleby. What can you say? One of the best trainers to ever hit the racetracks. But Notable Speech, 5-2, came in third in this race in 2024. I've got my eye, though, on an upset, and the upset is the 3-horse Salon at 6-1. And that is because that trainer, Francis Grafford, is the hottest thing to hit racing this year. He's been in the game for a while, but he is just racking up win after win after win everywhere he goes. Watch for the 3-horse to pull an upset on Notable Speech. After that, I do like, and you could go either way on this one, place or show, 11 Rhetorical at 5-1. 5 out of the last 6 races in the winner's circle. Also won the Grade 1 Coolmore the last time out. And I really like the way this horse is running. A lot of speed, 3-2-11. And then one more, if you just want to go ahead and beef up the ticket a little bit. Number 6, Lion and Winner. Inconsistent, but has had a good year, so watch number 6, Lion in the Winner. Hector Barrios is going to be riding this one. And wrong horse.
4. That's the 4.
4-horse, yes. And so AP O'Brien is the trainer, and at 6-1, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, at the beginning that, the odds makers got it right. Notable Speech probably does deserve to be the favorite. Even Wayne Buick is one of the more notable European horses, at least for me, who doesn't really follow that, but always seems to come up. And of course, the breeders, Godolphin. I mean, they are the pinnacle of breeding when it comes to this. And that's what the Breeders' Cup is all about. The breeders are kind of on display. Godolphin, I'm almost positive they have more breeder cups than any other breeder, and it's probably by a lot. Zaydon might get in there as well. But anyways, I do like Notable Speech, but at 5-2, it's just hard to kind of, there's a lot of value in this race outside of that horse. I'm with you. I like Solon as well. Maybe a little underneath, because I really like the 5-horse program trading, and it's a lot of consistency that I like to see. Going back to May, 102, 100, 98, 99, all the way up until that last 99 was in October. Did go down to Rhetorical, but that's a very good horse as well who will be running here. This is a big time value pick for me. I really like program trading. And you're not going to see Flavian Pratt and Chad Brown in double digits to 1 very often. And again, we're hunting for value here. I also like Johannes. This is one of the few North American bred horses. A lot of these horses race in North America, but Johannes, Nyquist is the sire, so you can kind of get the North American connection there. I really like what this horse has done this calendar year. It's only been 2 races, but very, very good. Maybe not so much the 4-star Dave. I should probably take that one back. Not great in the 4-star Dave, but I love the City of Hope Mile. Heavy favorite for Johannes. Beat horses like Cabo Spirit. I think 8-1, a lot of value underneath. And finally, another North American horse, which kind of scares me because I don't want to put too many eggs in the North American turf basket, but Formidable Man, the 8-horse. This is Michael McCarthy trained horse. Only 4 years old, but I really do think this horse has started to figure it out this year. We are going to need to see a jump if we want to get in the money from that 99 and 98. But 6-4-6 at Del Mar, not in the money, 6-4-6 on the turf in the winner's circle at Del Mar. And this horse is 10-1. I think that's something you have to keep an eye on. Familiarity is definitely something for these horses I believe in. And obviously this horse is very, very comfortable here. I will say, I do want to shout out One Stripe, not for any particular reason other than the fact this is the first time I believe I've seen a South African horse in the Breeders' Cup. So just kind of wanted to shout that out. I don't know if it's the first. It's just the first one I've seen. So that was kind of something. Hey, that's nice. Bring start to open things up, even some Chilean horses as well, but I have seen some South American horses in the past. But first South African horse. I don't know if I said South American, but South Africa. Anyways, moving on to the to race number 11, the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I don't know if Big Ass Fans still sponsors these, but I always love the Big Ass Fans Dirt
Does
Mile.
not say that this time.
Yeah, so I don't know. There are no sponsors on this, so that might just be the Daily Racing Forum just not wanting to give out any free ads. I'm sure there are definitely sponsors on these races. Anyways, this is going to be the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, of course, a grade 1 for 3-year-olds and up, a purse of $1 million. And as the name says, we are going a mile on the dirt. Raider Jim, I'll let you get us started on the Dirt Mile.
Well, let me just throw this out there for your consideration. I can see next year Breeders' Cup first off the bench Dirt Mile. I like the sounds of it.
We're going to need to get that monetization started real quick, but
let's get a GoFundMe going for that
there
one.
we go.
Okay, so we've got in this one a smaller field, 10 entries. And I will say, Brittany Yurton, if you know who she is one of the best female handicappers and knows what she's talking about. Her statement on one of her programs that I was watching this afternoon, this is probably the best dirt mile field in Breeders' Cup history. And that's to say something when you're making that kind of a statement, and she's a lady who would know. So with that said, who's the favorite? There's only one horse that's going to win this race, and it's the 3-horse Nisus. And who's riding that horse? Flavian Pratt. Who's training it? Bob Baffert. There it is. Bob's going to win this one. And then he's also got 2 other entries that can probably get him either to surpass, if he hadn't done it by this race, could surpass D. Wayne Lucas or tie D. Wayne Lucas now. And that is going to be number 2, Goal Orient at 6-1, Luis Saez. Again, you've got that West Coast thing going on where these guys know the track and the jockeys are very, very tuned in. This is going to be a good race for Bob Baffert. He's got goal oriented number 2. Also has the 7-horse Citizen Bull, and at 10-1 with JJ Hernandez on board, more of your underneath look. It's going to be the 3-horse Nisos. And then I also like really to come in second or to challenge Nisos, the 6-horse Full Serrano at 7-2. That horse is going to be one to be reckoned with. That's John Sadler, and Joel Rosario is going to be riding that horse. So for me, White Barrio, like the horse, I've always appreciated. Been a little bit off this year, hasn't been as reliable as normal. And so I like Nisos, Full Serrano, Citizen Bull. Maybe I might actually put Goal Oriented above Baffert's other horse, over Citizen Bull, just because I think he's got a better chance.
Yeah, this is another opportunity for a repeat with Full Serrano winning the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile last year, going off at 14 or 13-1.
Yeah.
And that is an Argentinian horse, so shout out there. Has made the move here to North America over the, going back to last year, even ran in the Pacific Classic last year, had hopes of maybe getting into the Classic, but had to settle for the Dirt Mile, and it worked out pretty well. But I really do like Full Serrano here. A lot of it's mainly the value, a little bit more value than Nisos, but we'll see. The numbers very much fluctuate. Obviously, you mentioned Nisos. Really hard outside of the value to poke holes in this race or in this horse. You mentioned Bob Baffert, Flavian Pratt. I'll go a little deeper. One of my favorite horses and one of the best pedigrees you can have with Nisos with Nyquist as your with Nisos as your Nyquist as your sire. Took me long enough. And even with Bernardini as on the dam side, not an exact dam, but once removed. So a lot to like about Nisos, except for that 8-5. So we're looking elsewhere. I've always been a big fan of Mystic Dan. Obviously, we go back to what this horse has kind of been able to do. Has been running in the Derby, won the Derby, I should say, at 18-1. beat out, Forever Young in Sierra Leone a couple years back, or last year, I should say. And those horses are running in the classic. So Mystic Dan, I don't want to say has kind of been left behind. I think Mystic Dan ran a race of its life and kind of, leveled out, which is perfectly fine in this division. I really do like Mystic Dan. Kenny McPeak is there. $4.8 million in winnings for Mystic Dan. Very, very surprising for a horse that only cost $10,000 to breed. So that is what we call a hell of a return on investment. So keep an eye on Mystic Dan. And now as you get a little bit kind of the underneath stuff, looking for some value, the 5-horse intrigues me. Will need a massive jump up, but is very consistent. Last 3 runs have all been at 93s when it comes to the buyer scores. Now, full disclosure, 2 of those were ungraded stakes races, and the last was a grade 3, but it was the ACAC. But we are talking about a Breeders' Cup race here, so that's why you do see this horse at 20-1, something to keep an eye on. And then, of course, Full Serrano, I did talk about. You mentioned Citizen Bull. We need a rebound here. Going back to the Kentucky Derby, really did not run well. It went off at 14-1, but I did not expect it to finish 30+ lengths off the lead. JJ Hernandez, last time out, it was his first time aboard this horse, and they ran a career tying best 98 in the shared belief at Del Mar. This will be its 5th run at Del Mar. We'll look for its 4th win here. But that shared belief, look, it's an ungraded stakes race. So you want to talk about a massive jump up in class. That's definitely it. But considering this horse was running in the Kentucky Derby earlier this year as someone that I kind of had my eye on, and now we're seeing this horse at 10-1 in a Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I like the value there. And one final one, just because it seems like this horse always seems to make it onto my radar, the 8-horse, Chancer McPatrick. I think we expected a lot more out of this horse. Still only 3 years old. Still has already pretty much got its money back from its yearling sale, making over $720,000 already. But the numbers have kind of flatlined a bit. 96 last time out was its career best, hopefully, but that was only able to run in 4th in that one. It's not Irad this time. Instead, it's Jose Ortiz aboard. But Chad Brown, you're not going to see a 15-1 horse trained by Chad Brown too often. Chancer McPatrick, a horse to keep an eye on. And our second to last race we will dive deep into. And I do apologize, Raider Jim. I'll give you the first crack at this one because I realized my notes did not load for this one. But it is the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. Obviously, we are going to be on the turf, 1 mile and 3/8, $2 million purse. And yes, for 3-year-old and up fillies and mares. Raider Jim, your thoughts? Race 12, Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf.
Yeah, 14-horse field, and this is going to be the number 13 horse. She Feels Pretty is going to take off at 4-1, and I think the horse to beat, not the favorite, but the horse to beat. J.R. Velasquez is going to be riding this one. I like the post position on She Feels Pretty. I think that's going to be very advantageous for her. She's going to be able to just kind of keep to the outside, stay out of the pack, and then he's going to be able to stalk a little bit, come up on the outside and do his thing the way he knows how to do it. The other horse I like is in the middle, almost, the 9-horse, Cinderella's Dream. Charlie Appleby is not going to leave Del Mar without making it in the money on a handful of times over 2 days. And this is going to be one of those with Cinderella's Dream running out of the 9. Then we also have, now they have, it's very interesting, at 7-2 right now, Gazora, the 5-horse from France, that horse is at 3-2, or at 7-2. The favorite right now, and I don't know why. Very disappointing run the last time out. Has done okay, did okay before that, the 2 races prior to that. I just think that they're overvaluing this horse. I don't see Gazora running away with this, even though there's that trainer again, Francis Grafford. Maybe he knows something that I don't, and he's going to make me eat my words. come Saturday, but I just can't do it. Maybe I could go underneath with that horse. That horse is not going to win the race, though, in my opinion. It's going to be the 13 horse. It's going to be Cinderella's Dream, the 9 horse. Or you might even see Diamond Rain from Great Britain, Charlie Appleby's other entry, the 6 horse. You can't go wrong with any of those. So you've got 6, you've got 9, you've got 13, and then maybe 5. I really have to do a little more research on. I should have done it. Gazora, though, I'm just kind of skeptical about that horse.
Yeah, I thought the same thing when you kind of just do the quick little gloss over and you see 7-2 and you go, oh. And again, this is a French horse, that has only raced in France, which is fine, no big deal. But they run with time form ratings, which are a little more inflated than Beyers. And a 104 time form is about a 90 to 95 Beyer, which again is fine. But to be a favorite for a Breeders' Cup race is definitely head scratching. It's very scary to me because we always do this, even when it comes to the NFL. Sometimes we see lines and we go, what are they thinking? And then you stop and you go, oh, hold on. What do they know that I don't? And that's kind of how I feel about Gazora, but plenty of value to go around. And I do think She Feels Pretty is going to be the horse to keep an eye on here. However, you mentioned the horse that I am most intrigued by, and that is the 6 horse Diamond Rain. I think Diamond Rain has a very good shot, Charlie Appleby, to win this race. Not only do we have the, obviously the pedigree, or at least I should say, the background that Charlie Appleby and Great Britain has for great turf horses going 2 or 3 turns, however you want to look at it. But this horse also shipped out to Woodbine in August and ran in the EP Taylor, got a little North American flavor, finished behind She Feels Pretty, but at 2.5 to 1 was only ahead. And now we're looking at this horse at 6 to 1. I like Diamond Rain a lot in this race. Some other ones that I just kind of had, value circled. The 7 horse, Be Your Best. Now, this is an Irish horse that has been racing a lot in North America. Nothing crazy jumps out to me, except for the fact you have Irad Ortiz aboard a 30 to 1 horse. You're not going to see that very often. And Irad Ortiz, it's just kind of like just put $2 on a place show ticket. And you know what? If it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit. But you'll feel really, really smart when Irad Ortiz brings this horse into its best run that we've seen in quite some time. I also really do like Cinderella's Dream, going back to last year's Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turfs. This exact race went off as, yes, the favorite, just below 3 to 1, ended up just a half length off of Moira, maybe a little bit of revenge here. Moira isn't in this race, but just maybe an opportunity to kind of avenge that. At 9 to 2, I think that's a great value for Cinderella's Dream. Even better than, well, not better than She Feels Pretty, but I do like Cinderella's Dream. And finally, the last one I'm going to bring up is the 14 horse. I do not like this post position, but See the Fire, 5 to 1. I'd like to see that number jump up a little bit more, but this horse has been in the time form triple digits since last June. So the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Last 10 races for this horse, all been triple digit time forms with a low of 110. So I'm not talking about 101s here. So again, that's about a 98 to 102 for the Beyer scores. I love this horse at 5 to 1. I don't like the post position going forward, but this is going to be a very interesting race with a lot of international flavor. Charlie Appleby might get 2 in the money in this one, and that's kind of what he's expecting going forward. But with that being said, it is time to dive into the main event, the richest race in North America. And I believe it's gone up because last year, I believe it was either 6 or 6.5 million. Well, this year, the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Classic, $7 million purse. We are going 1.25 miles on the Del Mar Dirt. And before I get into it, obviously the favorite here is not only the best 3-year-old horse in the world, or at least in North America, but maybe the best horse in general, Sovereignty. However, William Mott, I saw an interview, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but a little bit of fever concerns for Sovereignty. Now, apparently they have taken some blood. Everything looks okay. He was eating fine, nothing terribly to be concerned about, but at 6-5 in a field like this, something to keep an mind. Value is going to be an issue for Sovereignty. Has not lost since the Florida Derby all the way back in March. An incredible horse that would not be surprised to see this horse run away from the field into the winner's circle. Underneath that, I have what I believe is we're finally getting it. I believe this is the first time Fierceness will face Sovereignty. I know Fierceness has faced journalism, it's faced Sierra Leone, it's faced Forever Young, but I believe this is the first time we've seen Fierceness going up against Sovereignty. I really like Fierceness. Todd Pletcher, J.R. Velasquez, Junior Velasquez, a very, very consistent horse. Can win from the front, can win from the back, can win from the middle. I think there's a lot of value in Fierceness. Now, as we continue to kind of build our ticket underneath, it's really hard for me to get away from Sierra Leone. The defending champ of last year, I had her on my ticket in the Breeders' Cup Classic. She went off at 7-1. I really like Sierra Leone. However, really hasn't had a very good year. For her standards. Now, the numbers are there. I get it. But when Sierra Leone has gone head to head with some of the top contenders in this division, like Mindframe and Aquatarian, it hasn't gone well. So despite the numbers being despite the buyer numbers being high, seems like she seems to be second best to a lot of these horses. But it's hard for me to quit a horse like Sierra Leone. Also, Forever Young, the 5 horse. Yes, that name again. Probably the greatest Japanese horse that North America has ever been exposed to. Really, really good year. This year started off in Dubai, ran very well in the Dubai World Cup. Even earlier before that, won the Saudi Cup, which is the richest race in the world. Forever Young, just a paltry $15.7 million in earnings. Keep an eye on Forever Young. Again, we'll really kind of need to get lucky with the break early on. I think this horse wants to be on the lead, but there are going to be a lot of horses that want to be on the lead. Keep an eye on the 6-1 Forever Young. Let me make sure. And then finally, I have 2 finals. Obviously, underneath, you have to keep an eye on Journalism. The only problem with Journalism, it seems like whenever Journalism has gone, very similar to Sierra Leone, whenever Journalism have gone up against Sovereignty or Fierceness, this horse finishes second best. And we got both of them here and plenty of other good horses. 10-1. I'll be honest. I'm probably going to put it on my ticket just because Journalism at 10-1, you'll probably never see that again. But we've seen throughout the year that probably second best to some of the big boys in this race. And finally, outside of Journalism, it is the 10 horse Antiquarian. Obviously, I mentioned that this is a horse that's kind of been able to take care of the Mind Frames and the Sierra Leones. I really like the value at 15-1 here. An incredible summer and is peaking at the right time in the Jockey Club. Last time out that I believe punched this ticket for Aquatarian, ran a 108 beating Sierra Leone and Files Fall, that's Phineas Fogg, I believe. But a very, very good value with the 10 horse. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the granddaddy of them all, the Breeders' Cup Classic?
What a race. What can you say about it? Sovereignty. Now, it's interesting because every now and then you and I will say, well, if you saw it on the internet, it must be true. More than one time since this morning, I would see a blurb come up that said Sovereignty has been scratched. And but again, I couldn't find anything to validate that. So, like, based on what you just said, I'm going with that. If Pletcher says this horse is it Pletcher?
No, it's Mott, William Mott.
Yeah, if Mott says, no, we're good to go. My concern is, I also know he's high integrity. If there's the slightest thing wrong with that horse, he's not putting that horse on the track. So what happened? But if Sovereignty runs, Sovereignty's going to win. Who comes in after that? I like Fierceness at 4-1, except Fierceness came in second in this race last year to Sierra Leone, and then took off from November 2nd until May, and then has had kind of a rough time since then. I believe has had 2 trips to the winner's circle, but then had some less than stellar performances mixed in with that. So you kind of makes me wonder, is Fierceness off a little bit? 5 is my horse, the Forever Young out of Japan, at 6-1. Been to the winner's circle 3 out of 4 times since December of last year. This horse is a beast, and this horse is going to come to win. And wow, don't be surprised if Forever Young wins this race if Sovereignty pulls out. Could even give Sovereignty a run if Sovereignty's a little bit under the weather. I'd like to think Baeza could pull magic at 15-1. You had your 15-1 at who was it? The 10. Oh, Antiquarian, the 10 horse. Yeah, and my 15-1 would be Baeza, but I just don't know that Baeza is going to have, the stamina to go out there and compete. Baeza is a little bit of a smaller horse. He's filled out a little bit, but did win the Penn Derby grade 1. Just don't know if he can compete with this field to get into the money or the winner's circle. So it's going to be Sovereignty if Sovereignty runs. It's going to be Forever Young, and then I'm going to go Sierra Leone and Fierceness under that.
Yeah, and I think more than likely those blurbs, that's the old, I'd rather be first than right, because again, there's a very good shot, because even William Mott's interview today, it wasn't he is running on Saturday. It's more of we got his temperature stabilized. We got the first half of blood work back. We're waiting on the other half, and obviously he didn't go into too deep of details. But it's definitely one to at least keep an eye on. And if Sovereignty does run, just know maybe, hey, it's been a bit of a tougher week than normal. But, if Sovereignty goes out and runs, maybe we'll, instead of saying it's the Jordan flu game, maybe we'll say it's the Sovereignty flu race going forward.
There you go.
But yeah, I think it would be a shame if Sovereignty doesn't run here. But as you mentioned, William Mott isn't going to put this horse out there just to see what happens. It's only a 3-year-old as well, and the kind of the elephant in the room of horse racing right now is the amount of money that breeding is making. So a lot of these horses, it's no guarantee we're going to see these horses run at 4-year-olds. But, there might be an opportunity that if for whatever reason, God forbid, Sovereignty does scratch, maybe in a weird sort of way for the long-term longevity of Sovereignty. Maybe they say, all right, well, maybe we're going to retire it this year, but let's try and win the Classic next year. Who knows? But, just kind of thinking out loud there. I think this is going to be this is one of the most wide open classics, even though Sovereignty is 6-5. I understand that. But I think you can make a case for really, like you said, Forever Young, and Sierra Leone, and even our 15-1 shots. I mean, I'm looking at Baeza. The only time Baeza doesn't get into the winner circle is when Journalism or Sovereignty aren't in
That's
here.
it.
Nothing to sneeze about there. That doesn't mean you're a bad horse. It just means you might be the 3rd or 4th best horse in the world, which also not too bad, especially at 15-1. Wow, we are about 96 hours away from the Saturday session of the Breeders' Cup. Obviously, Friday will be the future stars that you all should definitely put in some work. Check those out as well. I think it's going to be a fantastic weekend at Del Mar. And if you're there Friday, make sure you go try and find Raider Jim. He is a social butterfly, so he will be everywhere out there. But Raider Jim, final thoughts as we wrap up the Breeders' Cup preview edition of the Call to Post.
Yeah, final thoughts, as we tend to do on this podcast, we go for more human interest, and we go for not just feel good, but we also like to extend our condolences to people. And unfortunately, in San Diego and in my own neighborhood here, today there was a procession for a young lady in her mid-20s, 25 or 26 years old, police officer for the La Mesa Police Department, got out of her car to help somebody who was in an overturned vehicle last week. And when she did that, she was struck and killed. Talk about taken away in the prime of your life. She was the first police officer of the La Mesa Police Department to lose her life during the call of duty to her family. And her name is Officer Laura Craven. To the Craven family, my condolences. And then the other one, real hard to talk about. And that is, there's a street I go by 3, 4, 5 times a week, especially when I'm going to my early morning acupuncture appointments. And I always see the little kids going back and forth to school. And there's a guy that stands on the corner to make sure that people get across. And I always wonder, my gosh, how these little kids shouldn't be going to school, and they're not little, they're 6th graders or whatever. And then last week, what happened? The unimaginable, the unthinkable. And a family of 3 kids got hit by a vehicle. One of the brothers passed away. One is very injured. And as I was going to my appointment yesterday, I came up to the intersection and noticed the big pile of teddy bears and flowers and things like that. So this is just a reminder. Life is fleeting. Life is short. 25 years old down to 12 years old. A lot of families, a lot of loss. Appreciate your family and your friends. Keep them close to you. Always remember them and let them know. And so I'm going to let you know, sir. You wanted to know what one of my best Breeders' Cup memories is. It's that day that me and you walked through that gate because we said we would. So we will do that again in the near future.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. I agree. It was definitely a great day. A day that I'll never forget. I think I still have the lanyard.
Oh yeah,
hanging up over there. But yeah, that was a fantastic day, and I want to echo what Raider Jim just said. Obviously, I did see the child incident, and I'm not going to say the neighborhood Raider Jim lives in, but when I saw that, immediately, just my heart sank. It's very difficult, and it's an opportunity maybe for all of us to, I think this will make it out before Halloween, but just in general, you just make sure you're looking twice for the kids, especially around schools. It's nobody, I don't care who you are, wants to be the person or the reason why a young child doesn't get to go home, or why a parent doesn't get to hold their child. And then, yes, thoughts and prayers to Officer Craven. That was a devastating story that, when I think it happened in the early morning hours. So you're kind of waking up to it. And, sometimes you get some calls from people and you're like, oh, all right, well, I guess everyone who's traveling in this direction is going to be late, and you just kind of shake it off as whatever. And then more details come out and you realize why. Oh, okay, that's why. The entire 8 is pretty much shut down. It kind of makes your tardiness feel a little inconsequential. But my final thoughts, I want to thank Raider Jim first and foremost. It's been a crazy summer for myself, and he's been there to kind of be the shoulder to lean on and things like that. But I also want to thank our listeners. When we talk about the original Call to Post, we always say we're going to be with you all summer. And unfortunately, we weren't. And again, it's not because we were sitting around drinking Mai Tais going, ha ha, let them figure it out on their own. But we had some things to deal with, but we really do. We are very thankful for you sticking with us, and we hope we found you some winners in this one. And, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, next year is going to be all that better, but We are hoping that it will be, and we will be able to live up to that promise of being able to be with you all summer as we get you ready for the Breeders' Cup, not just kind of a random preview in there. But again, I think you're just going to have to take our word for it that it was needed. So with that being said, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the original Call to Post, presented by the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are First. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to y'all very soon. Take care.
That's smart.